Your president is watching. America is watching. But more important, Godfather is watching. Make no mistake, there will be no fuck-ups. Marines around this world would give they left nuts to be where you are. Anybody not want to go? Marines, kill on 3. 1, 2, 3, kill!
Born to those who pledged their lives in sacred honor, was smiled upon by God and freed from chains and iron collar. He is held aloft on unity and by history revered. For preserving peace through strength, his wings now reach across 200 years. But for each of those in 1 year more, God has smiled upon the core, from the Barbary coast to the eastern sand, by sword, by gun, or by bare hand. So it's been and shall be weighed. Though many are born, few are made. Faithful always they shall remain. Dogs to loose when war is waged. Some more bullet in the breach and a fire in me.
night, Chesty. Wherever you are.
Dog face pony soldiers. Let's go.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, live from Pittsburgh Studio Number 1, it's Cold War Radio. Here's your host, Hutch Bailey Jr.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into this. The end of the week. Welcome and thank you for choosing Cold War Radio, the Cold War Radio patron hotline, 412-206-6208. The voicemail, 412-567-1460. Please go visit SteelCityResistance.com. Become a Cold War Radio patron. Catch the research room, the video page, which starting tonight is Video 2. You can get all the rest of them at Video, but Video 2 starts tonight. That sucker, that page was starting to take a while to load. There's so many links on it. If you'd like to write to the show, please write to Cold War Radio, P.O. Box 10433, 370, Castle Shannon Boulevard, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 15234. All right, let me get a little help, ladies and gentlemen, from Jackatt Mountain to Jackatt Harbor or Bay or something. Let's welcome Jack to the show. Hello, Jack.
Come on, man. How'd you know where I live?
He did that
Another
again.
week.
He did that
Come
again.
on, man.
Oh, he's horrible, man. Absolutely
It
horrible.
never ends. It never ends, and it is. Well, we'll get into him a little bit later.
It's getting ready to end.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I've got some hard stuff to go through tonight, so I want to start on a light side. I like to talk about food every now and then, not a whole lot, but every now and then. And you know, I had a good experience today. I was at my wife and I went to an Italian restaurant for lunch, and one of their specials surprised me, man. It was I don't know if anybody else in the country even eats this. I don't know if it's a around here thing or what. I grew up on it. But they had a special in an Italian restaurant, a fried bologna sandwich.
Really?
Yeah, and it was good. I got it, man. I mean, I'm telling you, that's something that around here, I grew up on that. And that's at home and at a restaurant is two different things. At home, it's a couple pieces of bologna and some Swiss cheese or whatever, grilled. But at a restaurant, at least in this area, it was about 3/4 of an inch of bologna, that not one sliced as thin as you can on a slicer. So it was almost chipped or shaved. Like it would be very hard to take one piece out of a pile of that. But it's all stacked in there. I asked if she could put Swiss cheese on there. She did. But, you know, there's something in restaurants that if there's any restaurateurs out there, another sandwich I like is a club sandwich, a turkey club. And again, around here, they're about 5-6 inches tall. You know, there's a lot of stuff on them. They're triple decker. You know, you got your hand.
Is that the one where they use them skewers to hold it together?
Indeed.
So you can grab it?
Yeah, and they quarter it. They quarter it, and they put 4 of those little long toothpicks in there.
Yeah.
And but I don't know why restaurants won't put the mayonnaise on for you. I don't order them that much because I don't feel like going into a construction project every time I eat lunch. You know, you got to take just imagine all that stuff, and you've had them before, in a quarter. They're quartered, so you're only dealing with a quarter. You can't just pop the top bread off and put some mayonnaise on it and put it back on. You got to do this.
That's the adhesive. That's what holds it together.
I know. I know. But when they quarter it, it's dry. I mean, you got to take it off 4 times. And then try to put mayonnaise on a little surface area. It's ridiculous, man. Put the mayonnaise on before you cut the sandwich.
No tip for you.
Yeah. I mean, nobody that wants mayonnaise is going to say it's too much or too little. Just do it. Then tonight I made a BLT, man. The second tomato was ready in the garden. I'm at that point where, you know, in another week or two, I'm going to have a lot of tomatoes at one time. But now I'm just getting one at a two at a time, you know. So I pulled that tomato out of the garden, made awesome BLTs, 2 of them. But anyway,
what kind of tomatoes are you growing? You growing the Romas? That's like almost all meaty, or what?
I usually do, but this year I wanted bigger tomatoes than those. I already have a lot that are canned that I canned last season. But
sandwich size beef steaks.
They're not huge though. They're like baseball size. I've never had them before. They're called bush tomatoes, or better bush. There's 2 kinds of tomatoes, ladies and gentlemen. You got determinate and indeterminate. And indeterminate tomatoes will grow until they get frozen out or you pull them out. Determinate tomatoes will only go up about 4 or 5 feet, and when that top set of tomatoes is done, they're all done, and they stop growing. This is a determinate brand. But anyway, enough on that. I know people aren't tuned in to hear about my tomatoes. My carrots are pretty good, too. But anyway, so I heard something, Jack. Well, first, before we go there, what's going on with you? Any opening thing you'd like to bring to the awesome audience out there?
We dodged serious. We had a tornado. I mean, basically, maybe a couple of miles as the crow flies. I mean, just come through our county into the next county, did some serious damage. I mean, you're talking. I take my trash to the landfill. And that road at the landfill, or the little drop-off point is where that tornado went. So it did a lot of damage. So we dodged it. Thank the Lord for that. And I didn't hear too many injuries, although there's some loss of property and damage like that happened. But even though that, it's one thing for it to say it's a tropical storm and all that stuff, but you got to pay attention because there was a lot of tornadic activity associated with this storm as it raged through early this week. So I hope no one else had to suffer through any of that. But it was small but vicious.
I always love that word, tornadic. I don't
tornadic.
know. It's like the confluence, But anyway, I've lived through 2 of them, and I couldn't see either one of them. But one time, about 10 years ago, I was a fire chief in a small rural community, and my company got dispatched to stand by in quarters because one was coming so close. And we're all standing out in front of the firehouse on the road, right? And it gets midnight dark, and I'm looking at these other guys. I'm going, why are we outside?
Yeah. Where'd the air go? The air is like sucked out of the region. Yeah. It gets deadly quiet and dark,
wow.
And you're like, this isn't good.
And the second one I was in it touched down. I was up at camp, and it touched down probably 20 miles from there. But man, it got dark. It was loud. The wind was blowing, and the siren was going off at the firehouse, and it was not the siren that I was used to. It was a different siren. It was the tornado siren. I mean, my cell phone's bleeping and the scanner's going. And I'm sitting in this camp, and my camp happens to be a mobile home. And I'm thinking, nah, mobile homes attract tornadoes. Get the hell out of here.
You borrow a backhoe and shovel yourself out of a cellar or something, right?
Well, I went I got a garage out there. Just one of those steel buildings, ones that's pre-manufactured. A carport with 3 walls and 1 open side. And my truck was in there. I went in there and got behind my truck and said, well, there's less stuff in here that can kill me than in there. So I just hung out for, it's only lasted a couple minutes. And it destroyed a builder's store, real big. I forget the name of the place, but it's a small chain up there. But, many square feet of lumber and everything else. And it tore the roof right off of that thing. It was real intense. It was. And it made me think about digging a cellar, too. I'm still not over that idea. I still might. There was a tornado that hit up there in '85 that killed 16 people or 13, something like that.
Yeah, that's one of the best things for a root cellar. I mean, it's for the tornadoes. When my dad was stationed at Fort Benjamin Harrison in Indiana, I mean, that was like close to the middle of every year there was tornado season. Here in Virginia, you get them every once in a while, but it's not like, it's coming in the Midwest like they do. You know, that season comes and there's really nothing to slow those storms down or because it's so flat. You know, here coming out of Pittsburgh, you got the Allegheny Mountains and the Blue Ridge Mountains and all that, which kind of limits how bad they can be. But you get them coming with a hurricane or the tropical storm like we did, where it was going south to north, then, you know, it causes some serious damage.
Yeah, that tornado out there was actually in the middle of the Allegheny National Forest. It cut swaths up and down mountains. It was crazy. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to hold off on the phones. Please don't call in until after the guest. My guest tonight is calling in, so that'll just make it a little easier for me to ascertain who's on the line. I heard something the other day, Jack, on Tucker Carlson's show that was profound. It was profound, and I never thought about it before. And it puts us in a great peril if we allow these children to take over the reins of power. I mean, children, what I mean is AOCs and things like that. People with absolutely no life experience. But I think it was his guest. I don't think it was him. I don't think it was Tucker. I think it was his guest who said that there's a big difference between American leftist, communist, socialist than leftist, communist, and socialist in other countries. And he explained the Chinese communists love China. The the communist Russians love Russia. Even the Venezuelan socialists love Venezuela. The only communist and leftists that hate their country are Americans. So war game that out a little bit. And think if the American communists who hate their country ever gain power. We're dead meat, man. The Chinese and the Russians are salivating over that. They'll give it to them. You know, think about it. That's scary. That's a scary thought, isn't it?
But that's one of the riskiness aspects of living in our free society. If you get to the point where we are right now, where the media, one of our two parties has basically jumped and leaped right on board that socialist communist train, and is trying to shove it down our throat. It's like we said, this is very very important election this November, as far as our House, Senate, and of course our president, because it's only barely scratched the surface what is being exposed as far as how our government's been used against us, against the Tea Party. Remember the IRS and weaponized against the Tea Party and prevented them from actually, when they were just starting to grow into something that was formidable, an actual challenge to the status quo. They were knocked down by elements within our own government, IRS.
And within our own party.
Yes.
If you remember Trent Lott, and if you remember the Freedom Works CEO, he was a former Speaker of the House, maybe Speaker. Was he Speaker? I can't even remember his name right now. He was from Texas.
Pastor?
No. From Texas. He was a congressman from Texas. And I might think of it, or it might come up in the chat room. But, I mean, he got ejected. You know, he was forcing people to do things at Freedom Works. Don't ever think the Republican Party is all well and good, because they're not. We're going to get to that in a little bit, as we do every night, because it seems like nobody else will do it.
But now, you see what they did to something that was challenging it and trying to get back more to the original founding principles. It was basically wiped out from the GOP and absorbed like an amoeba and then stomped out.
Exactly.
Whereas the leftist pull towards socialist and communist authoritarianism is being embraced by the Democrat Party instead of being swallowed up and controlled. If you understand what I'm saying, they're embracing the most radical aspects of it, even to the point where you have senators and people that are elected. Who was it? Nadler. The riots or the Antifa thing. That's a hoax.
Yeah, myth.
A myth. Yeah, that's
myth.
a myth.
Jerry Nadler, what a worthless individual. You know, and then
Hirono without, I'm sorry, but as far as not denouncing Antifa and their antics of burning and looting and the destruction that's going on, all they say is, but, most of it is peaceful protests. And I'm like, I haven't seen the peaceful protests. All I see on the TV and the news is the chaos.
Yeah, the other thing is the military, Jack. The officer corps in the United States military needs to be purged. It needs to be looked at, scrutinized. I mean, when you have former Lieutenant Colonel Tammy Duckworth, Lieutenant Colonel, basically sounding like a communist, calling our founding fathers white slave owners, or white traders, rather, and you have full bird Captain Mark Kelly, who's a gun confiscation moron, and I don't know how he's doing in his Senate race. He might take out his opponent. It's highly possible. We'll find out. That's for sure. Moving forward, but ladies and gentlemen, right now on the screen, retired Colorado State Senator Ted Harvey's been on the show before. Has always had a passion for protecting the Constitution and the unborn and promoting America's conservative values. At the age of 22, Ted received a political appointment to serve in the White House of President Ronald Reagan, which ignited his passion for traditional conservatism. His patriotic work continues today. He's a founding member and chairman of the Stop Hillary PAC, renamed the Committee to Defend the President following the election of President Trump in 2016, now one of the largest pro-Trump super PACs in the country. Welcome to the show, Senator Harvey. Thanks for coming back.
You bet. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
And I also have I'm Hutch Bailey Jr. I have my co-host, Jack, who is in Virginia as well.
Yeah, thank you for spending some time with us, Mr. Harvey. Thank you very much.
You bet. You bet. Thanks for having me on.
All right, let's go directly to the news of the day, what's going on right now. It appears that you're right in the center of the big tech election interference. Why don't you explain that to the audience, sir?
That's exactly right. We are actually the first organization in the history of Facebook to be told that we cannot advertise on their platform. And their justification for that is that our ads are misleading or false, which is completely not true. But they are very hard-hitting, and they're going directly at Joe Biden and calling him out for his 40-year record of failure in Washington, D.C. And the media can't stand it, and the Obama campaign can't stand it, and Facebook came out yesterday and said we are no longer able to pay for advertising on their platform.
Isn't that something?
And,
but it ends.
All the heck is breaking out because now Fox News is all over it, and CNN's carrying it, and the New York Times is carrying it, and Washington Post is carrying it. So, it's interesting because I don't think that we would have gotten nearly as much attention with this last ad that we placed had they just been quiet and not said anything about it. But now everybody's talking about it.
I mean, the thing is that they, if I understand the story correctly, they banned you until November 1st.
Later than that, actually.
Yeah.
It's 5 days after the election is what the actual numbers come out to. They haven't banned us per their order until November 10th, and then not November 10th, until August 10th, and then the 90-day quarantine, if you will, is put in place, and that takes us to 5 days after the election.
Ministry of Truth in action, huh? Listen to that.
Yep, that's exactly right.
I think what's happening, because you're just the latest in what there's been numerous things. They're even going after the president. I think one of the bits of Twitter thing was taken down, and they found out that the employee at Twitter was actually Senator Kamala Harris's former press secretary, who was behind.
I did not see that.
Behind the veil, the one that actually took it out. I saw that on the news today. But I think they are all panicking because I think that the venues, the online venues and the internet and all of the social media, it really, really helped propel President Trump into office because it bypassed all the. Go ahead, sir.
It is propelled conservatives. It's the alternative media that has allowed conservatives to rise up into power across the country. And it really started with Rush Limbaugh back in the 1990s. And Rush was an opportunity to go around the mainstream media, and then it became the internet and all of the ways that we've utilized email and the internet to go around them. And the media no longer has a monopoly on controlling the left-wing media narrative.
They try their best, though. they try. But I think the American people are above as much, like you said, with Fox News. Basically, by what Facebook did, they've drawn a high beam light onto what your ad exactly was. So now people are looking at what did they get them banned for? And I looked at the ad before the show, and I'm like, there's nothing nefarious about this. This is just straightforward. It's targeted to a certain community, but nothing there worthy of being banned until after the election.
The one that I saw wasn't even in English. I mean, it was geared toward Hispanics.
That's the ad. And for your audience, the ad that we ran, and the first time it ran, I'll set it up. It's an ad that's talking about how Joe Biden is only looking to bring on an African-American female to be his running mate. And it's all in Spanish, but it's subtitled with English, and it's running on Telemundo, and it's and on the other Spanish-speaking television channels around the country. And it says the Spanish community makes up 1/6 of the population. They may have a significant impact on our economy. Why is it that Joe Biden is only looking at African-American women, and he's not looking at bringing on a Hispanic when we make a portion of the population? If we're not good enough for Joe Biden, then why should Joe Biden be good enough for us? Vote for Trump. And that was called into question as false by the liberal fact checkers in Silicon Valley who came out and said our ad is false and should be taken down. And the reason why they justified it is because we said that he's only looking at African American women. And they said he's actually looking at one Hispanic woman who is the governor of New Mexico. And so we were like, okay, we'll change the ad. And we took it down, and we changed the ad, and we said in the ad that he's looking at 12 African American women and one Hispanic woman. And still, why is he only looking at one Hispanic woman? If we're not good enough for him, then why should he be good enough for us? And we re-aired that with completely honest. We made the changes that they wanted us to, and obviously, the fact checkers didn't even watch the video. They just put us up as being false because they didn't even know we made the change. And Facebook immediately comes out and says we're banned from their platform. But I think what really brought it to a head is the fact that on Friday, Trump retweeted our ad, and it went viral. And I think that is what really set them off, is that we are going directly after the Hispanic vote, and we are going to bring the Hispanic vote in numbers that they've never seen before, and that's what scares the Democrat Party, and that's why they targeted us and came after us.
Well, how ironic is it that this was an ad targeted towards Hispanics, and it, dealt with during the week, and then yesterday you have Biden out there trying to reach that group and basically stepping on his tongue. In the same vein, offending the African American community. I mean, even when he's trying to touch base with probably a group of people that the campaign has forgot about until your ad services, and they're like, "Oh my goodness, we need to speak to the Latino community immediately." And then he gets out there and makes this big mistake, and here we are, next Friday. And it's just,
We shook up the campaign. I know that, and when Trump retweeted it, it shook up the campaign because they've been coming out every day since then with different press releases and stuff talking about how they are going after the Hispanic vote. And it's interesting because we timed this whole ad campaign to come out right before he announces his nominee, because if you remember last week they were saying he was going to announce the nomination on Saturday, a week ago tomorrow. And then we come out with our ad, and they're like, oh my goodness. And there was all this chaos in the Democrat Party and behind the scenes in the campaign, and they said, well, we're going to push it off till this week. And then this week they said, well, we're going to push it off another week or two. So I think there is a great deal of consternation going on in the Democrat Party right now on how to handle a significant voting block. And then you see Biden make his screw up the way Jack was just talking about. That, it goes from bad to worse.
It does. And you're never going to take the racism out of Joe Biden. Joe Biden's just a central casting Democrat racist. I mean, his buddy was Strom Thurmond, and he associated with all the segregationists. I think he correctly denounced busing. I didn't like busing. I was a product of busing, and that was no good. But let's see what the Daily Beast reported. So far, this election cycle, the Committee to Defend Trump PAC has spent over $7.5 million in defense of our great president. Now they will no longer be able to post ads on Facebook, ! The company took action against the account for the Committee to Defend the President, a political action committee which began in 2013 as an anti-Hillary Clinton group, but which has since changed its focus to pro-Trump activism. As a result of the Committee to Defend President's repeated sharing of content determined by third-party fact-checkers to be false, I think they're connected with CNN in some way, those fact-checkers. They will not be...
Soros in some way.
And Soros, sure. And he's probably funding half of CNN because they're not getting any viewers. They will not be permitted to advertise for a period of time, which Mr. Harvey explained earlier. Facebook said in a statement, the committee has spent roughly $325,000 on ads supporting President Trump and conservative causes between May 2018 and August 2020, according to Facebook's ad database. Its founders have spent nearly $10 million in support of President Trump and his reelection in 2020, according to campaign finance records. It is clear this is electioneering by Facebook. And I agree. And I wonder, Senator, did you ever think about what can we do about Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, et al.? What can be done?
The only thing and the most critical thing that we can do is elect a Republican majority in the United States House of Representatives. Because the only way we can go after them is to go after them as a publisher. And as of today, the way they've been understood is that they are not a publisher. And if you're a publisher of a magazine, a newspaper, or a television, you have to give, you cannot discriminate against one side or the other. You have to be fair in the way you handle them. But because they are a private company and they are not considered a publisher, they're just considered a platform, a social media platform, and they quote unquote say anybody can be freely posting on their stuff. They can't be regulated as a publisher. And I can assure you, Congress is not going to change that interpretation as long as Nancy Pelosi is carrying the gavel in her hand. And we can't change the law as long as Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats are controlling the House of Representatives. So if we want to change the law and treat these large monopolistic social media platforms essentially as a utility and regulate them and make sure that they're treating people fairly, then we've got to win back the House of Representatives and hold the Senate and make sure that Trump gets elected.
One of the things that I've noticed, you said about if you're have a television or whatever that you have to be honest. Well, we know that that's not happening either with our media, with our globalist corporate media that just hates this president, hates the idea that there's an honest man in the White House. I listen to these people saying that he's had 15,000 lies since he's been elected, and I'm thinking, this is the only guy telling the truth out there. That's what's driving everybody crazy. He's the only one that is addressing things that unfortunately our Republican Party has been closing their eyes to for decades. And I think it's really, I know it's really shaking up a lot of things, including their finances. I mean, some of the things he's doing are just heroic. I mean, it's wonderful. And you're right. We have to get a solid majority in both houses of Congress because the things that are coming out of the House right now, I mean, it's just unbelievable. The amount of things that you have to tell yourself that you don't know that you really do know to say some of the things that they say. I mean, it's just it's baffling. But I'm very disappointed in the Federal Communications Commission. One of my past hobbies, I'm not into it too much anymore, but is amateur radio, ham radio. And, man, you have to be careful what you say on there. There's people listening, and they will enforce different regulations and laws. But the things that you see, I'd like your opinion on this, the things that you see on broadcast media that are just outright lies that cause damage. They cause physical damage to people that are spewed on CNN and MSNBC, to me, is not within the parameters of the intention of the First Amendment. I mean, you can't yell fire in a theater, for instance, but you can tell 350 million Americans that hydroxychloroquine doesn't work. You know, and that's to me, that's criminal to me. And I wonder why the FCC is so afraid to tackle that.
Well, that's a whole different topic when you start talking about hydroxychloroquine and the fact that scientists and doctors are being banned on Facebook because Facebook is denying the science behind hydroxychloroquine. It is outrageous. It's outrageous what they're doing to my group, but that's politics. What they're doing to the doctors and shadow banning the doctors and preventing anybody to talk about the science behind this and how it is saving lives. It is literally evil that Facebook and Twitter would rather have people die than to be exposed to the life-saving possibilities of HQC. And you got to ask, why is that? Why is the media so complicit in covering up this story and forcing us down the road of quarantine, of masks, of mandatory vaccines? Why is the media so passionately complicit in this entire charade that's going on? It's outrageous to me.
I think it's criminal. I think it's criminal. I mean, I think it's criminal, and I think it's rooted in Trump derangement syndrome. And I think it's also, I've heard reports, unconfirmed, I'll put it out there, that Dr. Benito Fauci has a patent on one of the vaccines. And if that ever comes out, and that's true, I mean, you have to look around the rest of the world, and the rest of the world is curing itself with hydroxychloroquine. That's plain and simple. I mean, it's out there. We've been using quinine since George Washington. I drink it every day. because of my age and things. I just think that when something is breached that is that easy to prove, the FCC should come in and do something to the networks that are broadcasting that. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, that's one thing. But NBC News and CNN, that's another thing, because I would imagine that more people in the United States anyway, at least until these millennials get, the trend is definitely social media. I know that, and internet platforms. But right now, we're still not there yet. A lot more people, in my opinion, are probably getting their information from the news, although not all of them. But anyway, back to Facebook. Have you been stifled on any other platforms, or is this a trend, or is it just Facebook? And maybe there's a chance with the attention that you're getting that you mentioned that this could at least be reversed in your case.
Well, I'm not sure it'll be reversed. I mean, we are on a full attack on Facebook right now, and we just spent $250,000 on this ad originally, airing it in Arizona and on the Spanish-speaking television stations around the country. So that wasn't a very big ad buy. That's not a huge ad buy. But because of this, we have got so many people so upset at Facebook that are members of our group that we have pledged to not only take Facebook's funding that we were going to spend on advertising and put it into other platforms, but we're going to not just double down, but triple down. We're going to be spending over $1 million on this ad buy.
Nice.
And we're going to be putting it on YouTube. We're going to be emailing it out. We're going to be doing it on every social media platform that we can. And we are going to tell the American people every single day between now and Election Day that Facebook is prohibiting us from airing not just this ad, but all of our ads on their platform.
So going forward, you got a ton of free press, like you said. I mean, they're playing it everywhere. That's outstanding. I love when that happens. I do. But what about Facebook being spanked a little bit? Being is there criminality involved? Is this interfering in an election that was so important to the left just a short time ago?
I don't think there's any criminal, except for they may be liable in the way that they are defaming us and saying that we were lying and that their fact checkers say that all the stuff we were saying is false. And that's not the case. They're just mad about how effective our ads are. But, short of suing them for discrediting our name and our organization and trying to hurt our ability to raise money, there's not really anything that they can do. But in the end, I think it's going to benefit us and our group and Donald Trump, because more people are going to donate to our PAC. That's going to provide us the ability to air our ads and have more people see our hard-hitting ads. So, what Facebook planned for evil, God's going to plan for good.
Yeah, it's one final question from me, Senator, is you see little aspects. I'm more of a libertarian, so I don't want to see the government get overly aggressive, putting their foot on the neck of these so-called free media sites and social media. But one way that I think can be utilized is if your entity, such as a Google or a Facebook, if you're in cahoots or are getting contract money from the federal government for certain projects, partnering with the federal government, helping, whether it be in IT ways and all that, if you're getting federal funds, taxpayer money with the government, your freedom as a private sole entity is kind of foregone in that aspect, because in my mind, we're dealing with the swamp, right? Which is mainly the unelected aspect of our federal government. The people that write the bills, the lobbyists, all of these folks in the State Department and all that, they say, well, we are not responsible. I didn't know that it was this bad, like we saw earlier this week. Some way they need to be able to hold these entities accountable as long as they are looking to fund their own efforts by partnering with our government. Do you think that could be a way to hold some of these folks accountable for their actions in elections?
I don't know. I don't know. I hear everybody's frustration and what's going on, but in the end, just stay off the platforms. Stop allowing them to have your data so that they can go sell your data and make millions off of knowing every little thing about you. I think that's going to be the number one way to do it. And so I use Brave as my browser so that Google's not able to track anything. I use DuckDuckGo as my search engine so that Google's not able to track anything. I think that's what it's really going to come down to, is cutting off your cable and not watching TV and not giving any advertising revenue to these folks who want to make sure that conservatives have no voice. I think in the end, it's the pocketbook, and how are you gonna hurt them the most? That's by turning it off,
or making a regulation that cable TV and satellite TV providers have to give you the choice to pick what you want to watch. In other words, if I want to watch Fox News, I have to pay for CNN and ESPN and everything else. That's another problem. I mean, that could be, like you said, that could be fixed without great tyranny, But we'll see what happens. Do you have any final comments, sir, or any place you'd like the audience to be able to visit your operation?
You bet. Thank you for the opportunity. I would encourage everybody to go to our Facebook page. Still to this day, we have over 950,000 followers following us on Facebook. And though we won't be able to advertise across the platform, I encourage everybody to go to our Facebook page and sign up and follow us there. I've got 950,000 followers. I'd love to get to 1 million by the time the election gets here so that we can get our message out as far as we possibly can. I would encourage everybody to go to our YouTube channel, which is Committee to Defend the President, and watch all of our commercials. There's nothing false about them. They're all very strong, well-produced commercials. And then also go to our website at committeetodefendthepresident.com. And again, there you can see all of our commercials. You can see all of the op-eds that I write and have published around the country. But more importantly, you can see the donation page. If Facebook is going to take us off their platform so we're not able to raise money there, our website's going to be one of the most important things we can do to send people there and donate to this cause so that we can fight the media, fight the Democrats, and defend the president and make sure that he gets elected in November. And that's not going to be cheap. That's expensive to do. So if anybody can help us with some donations between now and November, we would much appreciate it. So thank you very much for having me on and for giving me the opportunity to pump that website.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, retired Colorado State Senator Ted Harvey, also the founding member and chairman of the Committee to Defend the President. Thanks for coming on, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Have a great weekend. God bless.
You too.
AOC, how I explain her? She really make my brain hurt. She always need a Twitter page to save her. I'm really sick of her. She always spitting gibberish. I wasn't gonna diss you till you talked about my militants. You said my veterans are better off just sitting in line outside the VA when the waiting has been killing us. We wanna visit a private doctor or physician, but you say the VA isn't broken, so don't go fix it in. Girl, you tripping? You go tell that to the veterans. That in front of the veterans affair without the medicine. This is nonsense, it's not about law or politics. This is for all my veterans sweating out in the hottest. If you really are that somebody who never went and fought the sick, how could you ever talk about medical? We ought to get. I see you move your lips, but it never make no sense. You need to play your part documentary on Netflix. Cause like CBS, AOC don't know ABCs. BETs are not 1, 2, 3, we just be sing. So you can cut the script that you read for the public. And with a puppet in front of us fronting it really make me sick of AOC. Yeah, you know me.
All right, so another outstanding interview. I got to say, there's a couple things, Jack, going on in the background that are going to become more important as we go here. First of all, I think you're going to see another uptick of the Democrat Party's Antifa BLM militia in between now and the election. It might not start right now, but I'm looking for a brutal end to this race. We'll see how that pans out. One thing
the Democrat, that Schumer and Pelosi and the Democrats want all of this chaos to continue all the way. You're talking, 90 days or less now?
Yeah, 80 some days.
Close.
It is. You're right. And you're noticing a couple things. And you can always tell how fake the politicians in the media are because they're not smart enough to change the verbiage. They all say the same thing. It's actually, they're not journalists. They're news readers. That's all they are. They're dumb as hell, most of them.
They get the talking points in their email every morning.
Exactly. Journo list, remember that? I mean, it's still out there. It's in another form that we didn't find yet, but it's still out there. But you're seeing themes comparing Chris Cuomo. The Cuomos are some of the dumbest guys I've ever seen in my life. Anyway, he comes out and he's saying that you can see that President Trump's mental acuity is much worse than Joe Biden's. Much worse. Because he said that Joe Biden is against God. And Joe Biden, in his heart of hearts, may not be against God. But Joe Biden, the brand, is against God. There's no question. I watched the Democrat National Convention that was trying to propel Hillary Clinton into the White House shout down God. They voted against God, and then they fraudulently changed the election results and slipped them back in. I don't know if you saw that, but that really happened. So
you're talking the 2016 deal, the platform.
Yeah, I was on vacation. That's how I remember it. I was in Utah.
And then after the convention, they put it back in. It's like,
no, they put it in during the convention. They had a voice vote 3 times, and every time the nays were way louder than the yays. And they just came out and lied and said, okay, the nays have it, or the yays have it, whatever. The ones that wanted to keep it in there. And I mean, the cameraman was going to Muslims for Hillary, the little small contingent of 2 people. It was something else. Right. So that's one. They're trying to say that he's more whacked out than the president. And I watched the president tonight, and there's no comparison.
Yeah, he came out, hit some home runs tonight. But I look at it's been an attack on religion has been going on for years, and it just seems to be getting worse. Right now, you've got
physical attacks on churches.
Right, they don't even want to let the folks, the Supreme Court, even basically saying that. Yeah, you got to keep the congregation down or out because we don't want you to get too close. Yeah, it's okay for hundreds or 200 or 300, 400, 500 folks to gather together and harass police, threaten buildings, burn stuff. So
the second thing you're seeing is you're starting to see the meme, kind of like what they did several times, not just once. They did it for Bush and they did it for a little bit for Reagan, but now they really did it for Trump and just, refused to accept the election results. They're saying, now I used the term before, but it's a pertinent term. Just war game out the elections and it's close in the end. And it's close where there was mail-in ballots. And the president says, wait, I'm not leaving yet. We're going to find out what's up here. And, the
heaven forbid a GOP candidate challenges an election, right?
The theme in the media and in the media or in the political world, the politicians, both in office and in the media, is that the president will never relinquish his office if he loses. And it's like, that's you guys, man. Come on, stop it. But it's out there. I just wanted to put it out there. It's out there.
They keep putting it out there, which means you can expect the Democrats to contest the results of this election.
Absolutely. That's why we have to just crush them. And then after we win, we have to start dismantling the Democrat machine because it's clearly a crime family. Clearly. I mean, it's just beyond reason that this is a normal, patriotic, political party with just a little bit of differences on, different things the way the Democrats used to be. Gun sales are through the roof. Ladies and gentlemen, if it's the first time you've ever purchased a firearm, you felt compelled to do that, I would suggest you go to condition1concepts.com. That's condition, the number one, concepts.com. Give those guys a call. Look at what they do. If you're not too far away from the tri-state area, I'm sure they'll come to you. These people are really professional. They're ex-military, ex-security, and they'll teach you everything you need to know about your new firearm. They'll guide you through buying one if you want to.
Very important. Very important.
Indeed. You know what I did today? I actually joined the Concealed Carry Association, which provides a legal team if you need it, if you're involved in a shooting. So I would suggest that too, but that's a personal decision. Let's go to Kentucky and Rico. Hello, Rico. What's on your mind?
Hey, man. You know all this rhetoric and all this stuff that they're doing? You've seen cities being burned down, and then all this stuff that almost everything that you say is racist or offensive. Don't you think they're trying to put fear into the Republican citizens so they keep pushing that so they won't go vote this fall?
I think what you're going to see. I think what you're going to see is worse than that. I think you're going to see them deploy their militia to the polling places. I do, and maybe not everywhere because, of course, there's some places where that's just not going to happen. But in some of the big cities, I think you'll see it. You saw it with the new Black Panther Party with Obama, and I think you're definitely going to see that.
Yeah, they can go ahead and do the cities because there's not too many Republicans there.
That's true, but it's still, and but they had the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice. We've already seen how corrupt the DOJ is and how left-leaning it is.
What I think what's really upsetting to me is that basically we have in this nation under the governance is a dichotomy where particularly when you're in a city, right, that the people that are on the left get to do what they want, including break the law. But the instant the people on the right break the law, guess what? You're put in jail. And it just simply is not a fair system right now.
No. And the thing is, it's dangerous.
For everybody.
Yeah, it's dangerous because there's a whole lot of people that have been experiencing this the older you are for a long time. I mean, I go back to the former governor of Virginia that got put in federal prison for a watch, for accepting a watch. What was his name? McConnell or something? Governor
McConnell, whoever it was the last Republican.
Yeah, before McAuliffe. It was before McAuliffe.
Right.
And went to prison over it, and nobody.
It was overturned, though, remember?
I don't know. Was it? I didn't know that.
I mean,
I thought he did time and everything. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
If you look at everything that's going on, it's always against a Republican. It's always Flynn's, I mean, everything is just against Republicans. You never hear anything,
right?
Very little about Democrats getting in serious trouble or being indicted or put in prison or being engaged with the FBI or anything like that where they're being shook down. It doesn't happen to them. It's because there is a deep state, and there might not be a leader, but there are people going, you know what, we can do what the hell we want right now.
And it's in the military, too.
The Republican Party.
It's in the military, too. I'll give you Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, I'll give you H.R. McMaster, and there's several others that are out there. General Milley, but General Flynn goes, gets ready to go to prison for life. But these other guys, they just walk, they skate right out of there. It's maddening. It is. I understand what you're talking about, and you're right, man. You are.
Yeah,
And
because I'm just seeing the left trying to destroy the. It's almost like they've got a right to do it, and nobody's doing anything about it. Nobody's
you watched
standing up to them.
The Sally Yates hearing earlier this week, you could see that she's 100% swamp, right? Takes no credit for all the wrongdoing, although she says, I'm responsible for every single one of these people underneath me and all of these agencies. Well, how did this happen? Well, I wasn't aware of it.
Well, maybe
you can't have it both ways.
And
maybe if we get pushed, maybe if we get pushed too far in these cities, and then we start shooting back, maybe they'll start going,
Well, let's hope not. Let's hope it doesn't go that far.
They're going to make a serious, thing out of that. But my God, sooner or later,
it's going to happen. You're right. It already did. It already did. The guy shot the guy with the AK. God bless him, Army sergeant. And I mean, we don't want a civil war, man.
I know we don't want that.
I don't either. But I'm not going to lie and say that it doesn't get in my head every day too, Rico. I ain't going to lie. Sometimes you just say, well, you know what? If they want this, let's just do it now. Let's just get it over with, because
I will admit, though, it's pretty peaceful here in Kentucky. We're not having.
It's peaceful in Pittsburgh too. I mean, it's not bad. We had a day or two, a bad day or two, and that was about it. But be prepared for the future because it's getting ready to get weird, I think. Thanks for calling, Rico. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Rico.
Have a great weekend. All right, so Senator Mumbai Mike Lee, his latest version of Senate Bill 386 creates a novel green card light legal status to help Fortune 500 companies import many more Indian graduates into United States white-collar jobs. That's a game changer from the original bill, said a tweet from a top-ranking immigration lawyer, Greg Siskind. It gives people most of the benefits of a green card, said Siskind, who is working with hospital chains to expand the pipeline of foreign nurses and doctors into U.S. hospitals. Current law says migrants and foreign contract workers become legal permanent residents of the United States once they get green cards and also become eligible to apply for citizenship and voting cards in 5 years. Now, Mumbai Mike Lee, the senior senator to Mitt Romney in Utah, I think they should disband the Utah GOP. Boy, these people are poison. Mike Lee was a championed Tea Party candidate. I think Glenn Beck thinks he's the second coming of Jesus Christ himself. This guy's a skunk, Jack. Who in their right mind, especially right now, would let the whole world know that he's a whore, that he's paid off, and do something like this when so many Americans are out of work?
It's sleazy. That's all it is, plain and sleazy. You compare what he's doing in the midst of all of this, the COVID-19, the economy is trying to bounce back, what President Trump is having to deal with, what Congress is trying to deal with on GOP, fighting against Schumer and Pelosi when they want trillions for whatever, a shopping spree, when the president and the Republicans want to just kind of ease everything along and ride out this last little wave and get everybody back to work without breaking the bank like they already have twice, right?
Oh, my God. Trillions. Yeah. Worse than Obama's stimulus. And the Republicans are right there. Frickin' Marco Rubio wanted to have payments to illegal aliens that are married to Americans or some crazy stuff. I mean, Marco Rubio's off the trade too.
UFO files, Mr. Rubio. And here you compare that to right before we went on the air tonight, the president came out and was talking about the Tennessee Valley Authority.
Yeah, that one there where they had to.
fired the chairman, making $8 million. Now, how the hell did this end up being this way? But he was pulling in $8 million a year to run this thing. And what they were doing, they were firing workers that have been there, career workers. I guess this is part of the federal government. And as they were phasing out these workers, U.S. workers, before they were let go, they brought in foreign workers, which is like what Senator Lee loves, right?
Oh, yeah.
Boom, H-1B visas, having the people that are going to be laid off train these cheaper employees
just like Disney
to take
World
their
did.
jobs.
Disney World did the same thing. That's you, Fox News, by the way.
But Trump put the pressure on, fired the chairman, and laid it on the line to the board. The board capitulated. He announced tonight that everyone that was laid off is going to be rehired, and we're not doing this no more. So right there, bam, my winner of the week is President Trump for pulling that off.
Yeah. He also deferred the payroll tax retroactive to July 1st to the end of the year. Now, my understanding of deferred is, are they going to have to pay that tax at some future time? But I'm not sure. He also extended to the end of the year the unemployment benefits. I don't know if that's going to be good or not, because I'm not certain if it's the unemployment plus with the extra $600 that's going to keep people from going back to work, because it's more money than they'll make at work. He also extended the student loan holiday, and he extended the eviction moratorium until the end of the year. So, this shows you what's going on with Congress, man. I mean, the Democrats and the media is playing it like it's just an honest negotiation. They're such scumbags in the media. They are. It keeps me on the air when I see these people and what they say. When I see Fox News' Chris Wallace say that the president has said many disparaging things against the African American community. Like what?
Yeah, racist things, right? And I'm like, what are you talking about?
What did he say? Tell me. Along with Stelter and his 15,000 lies. Name one. It's unbelievable. Let's go to the phones. If I get my mouse to work here properly, we'll go to Eugene, Oregon, and welcome Marlene to the show. Hello, Marlene.
Hello, Hutch. Hello, Jack.
Hi, Marlene.
You there? Yeah.
Don't sound so down. Don't sound so down in the dumps over there.
Geez, don't be worn out by the Pacific Northwest.
Hello.
Actually, I'm not going to talk about the Pacific Northwest. I've had enough of that crap myself. No, I was going to mention. Did you guys? Maybe you thought, Hutch, that video that James O'Keefe did, where he couldn't get a gun. And he has never committed a felony. I'm
did see
damn,
that.
I hope he wins that case.
I think I have a piece on that. Let me just scroll down here a little bit, because that was amazing. I mean,
that was too.
Undercover video specialist James O'Keefe strikes again, but with a slightly different take from his normal exposés. This time, he's suing the FBI because they denied him the right to buy a shotgun. Even Biden says you can have a shotgun. O'Keefe attempted to buy the firearm at a gun shop in New York. That's your first mistake, James. But the background check came back with a denial. The background checks are only supposed to deny people who've been convicted of felonies or violent misdemeanors. That's not exactly true, but it's close. Neither of which apply to O'Keefe, which is very important. And this is something you spoke about, Sally Yates, and I just want to reiterate this one more time, because Sundance is a blessing that we've got, and I highly encourage anybody that's interested in some really deep truth to go visit the Conservative Treehouse. But he has pretty much translated what her testimony was, and this is something we can't forget. She deflected everything away from the people that caused all this, and that's the DOJ. The FBI reports to the DOJ. Don't tell me it's the FBI and you, Sally Yates, are going to go scot-free. The Justice Department is worse than the FBI. And I don't want anybody to forget that. When you
That's
see her
the lawyers, right?
start pointing at
that's
Comey, yeah, it's the bosses too. It's like the DA
the lawyers are
and
the
the
ones
cop.
that file in court, right? The lawyers, not the investigators.
No, the investigators have to bring it to the DOJ.
To the
Just like
DOJ,
Law and Order.
and
Just like Law and Order. Dum-dum. You know, it's the cops and it's the prosecutors. It's the same with the DOJ and the
It was the
FBI.
DOJ lawyer that changed the status of Carter Page from was he a FBI or a CIA affiliated informant or not? And the guys flipped it from yes to no for the application to the FISA court, which I think the DOJ attorneys go before the court.
There's no FBI agent going in front of the court. Right. Go ahead, Marlene.
Okay. Anyway, enough on James. The other thing I know you've been talking about how, and I think too that the way the schools are set up in this country is a joke. American Thinker had a short article about how he was talking about apparently his own sons. And then he said this is from Chicago, but I think this could apply to out here or even back in Pennsylvania. He's saying that the parents are calling our 3 sons are on their own and doing well. Nevertheless, I understand what's happening in Chicago. Parents are calling around and inquiring about school choices. And they're talking about private schools. They're talking about, anything but the regular, typical public school. And he says, well, I understand what's happening, but parents want to educate their kids. And the teachers' unions are more interested in defeating Trump. And I just went, bingo. Just like we know they are.
There's no question about it. You look at their demands.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, listen to this clip.
Randy Weingarten and America's teachers' unions are using coronavirus to push their favorite liberal policies and holding our kids hostage in the process. Teachers' unions around the country are asking for things that have little to do with safety in the classroom. Their wish list includes passage of Medicare for all, taxes on billionaires, and a ban on their competition, parochial schools, charter schools, and parental choice programs. If we don't give in, they go on strike. Randy, stop using our kids as political pawns for your socialist agenda. Sign the petition at unlockourschools.com.
I think, Marlene, that just like New York's Attorney General's lawsuit against the NRA, I think the activities of the teachers' unions are going to doom them as a power. I think we have a golden opportunity. It might take longer than the next 4 years, so we have to be cognizant of that. This is something that we have to keep going. This is not about Trump. This is about us.
It's true.
We have to make sure that we select the warrior that's up to the task, because at the end of the day, the teachers' union should be abolished. And
I agree with you.
Maybe in very short order after that, public schools should be too.
I could see that.
That would
hurt me a bit.
Because if you look at the situation, the majority of people live in these left-wing cities where the whole city's not left-wing, but they've got the power, and they've taken a long time to get it. It was only about 50 years ago this happened. Now, there's some places that have been liberal for a long time, but not like today.
Right.
And this is something that it's suicidal. What other country have you ever seen that their citizens, their young citizens, hate their own country? That's
Nobody
not normal.
Except here.
That's not normal. No, especially
it's
when everybody's eating here. You look at some countries right to our south. You look at Mexico. You look at China. Vietnam had to arrest hundreds of Chinese because they fled to Vietnam because there's no food where they live. Now, I'm not saying all of China's like that, but
but overall, I think a good portion of China.
You set up a house of cards. Yeah, you set up a house of cards using slave labor to try to.
Which they're doing.
Yeah, they've done a wonderful job at it.
They're still doing it.
They are.
They're still at it.
There's no question. What else is on your mind?
Oh, I think last of all, I had an honest question. I got asked earlier today. I was talking to someone I work with, and this person, she's not a bad individual, but she's basically a communist. But we were talking about, the whole thing of wearing masks. And I understand that, yeah, I have to wear a mask in the office because it's the way it is. But she was saying, well, who do you believe as far as, I was telling her that masks are useless, that they don't help. And she says, well, do you believe Fauci? And I said, absolutely not. And I said, I don't believe Bricks either. And she says, well, who do you believe? And then I posted a kind question in the other chat room, and Ralph said, well, show her the frontline doctors. And I did give that to her, but I'm wondering if that comes up again, is there like one or two lines I could use to at least get my point across to make her go, instead of just trying to blow back?
Go on Johns Hopkins University's website, and they have a section on coronavirus. And
I can do that.
Go to Oregon and find your state's numbers. Now listen to these categories. The categories are cases from the beginning, which is what every news media outlet is using. In Pennsylvania, I forget how many cases it is, but they're saying that is the 150,000th case in the state of Pennsylvania or whatever it is.
Yeah.
All right. But that started 6 months ago. Don't forget that.
That's true.
What the media is not using, they'll also tell you the number of deaths. But what they don't tell you is the number of people that have 100% recovered. Now, if they were being honest and they were trying to get me to trust them, and I've said this before, if there was 100,000 cases and 80,000 people have been totally, gotten over it, then why don't you take the 80,000 and subtract it from the number you're telling everybody, 100,000, because the way they're reporting it, everybody's running around here, the people that don't dig deep enough, thinking there's 100,000 people out here running around with this. And there's not. 80,000 are cured. There's only 20,000. And guess what? By the way, 10,000 died. So subtract 10,000 from the 20,000, now you're down to 10,000.
Right.
Versus how many people live in your state. It's a big fraud. It's criminal to me, the way they're reporting this.
Yeah, and she tends to believe the fraud.
Right. And a lot of people do, and it's because of the way they're reporting it. Fox News has these giant red graphs. It's criminal the way they're doing this. They're showing how easy it is to manipulate people, and that would be something that I would say to this person too. I would select my words carefully, because the thing about leftists is it's easy to get them to shut down. And once they shut down, it doesn't matter what you say. So you have to kind of play with them a little bit and keep them in your good graces as you're trying to give them this information. I've got personal experience with that. And that's you don't want to shut them down, because then it's over. Then it's over.
Yeah, and I totally understand. I was just going to ask that honestly, because I kept thinking, I know this is going to come up again. Right.
Well, go that route. Use your common sense. Say, look, you don't have the cold for 20 years.
Well, the mask deal, you had the leader of, what was that group in the federal government, African-American leader, he was saying, don't use the mask. Don't use the mask. You're not helping yourself, while they were trying to save and stockpile all of it for the first responders, the help people in the hospital. Remember that?
Surgeon General.
Surgeon General is who it was. The Surgeon General was out there. Don't go out there and hoard all these masks.
You remember the surgeon? You remember the Surgeon General under Bill Clinton? I forget what her name was. She was a black woman. But what always comes to mind is every child a wanted child. Anyway,
speaking of the health director, I keep flashback to yours in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Thanks for calling, Marlene. Have a great weekend. Hope that works out for you. Let us know how that works out. All right, let's go. Sean, thank you for waiting. I appreciate it, man. You've been on the line a long time. I appreciate it. What's up?
Hey, no problem, guys. And I got bad news bears. We have a problem with our California census. They've just recently partnered up with CARE, You all know who CARE is?
The Council for American Islamic Relations, unindicted co-conspirator in the Holy Land Foundation trial.
Yeah, I'm pretty pissed. I'm pretty pissed that they did that. But yeah, I put the link in the chat. It's all there. I don't know how this happens. I really don't. Oh, wait, it's liberal, communists. They don't care as long as anything that goes their way to make them look like the good guy, and they win all the time. They don't care if anything gets destroyed in their path, including American lives.
And anybody who's not a Muslim when it comes to that
too.
group. When it comes to that group. I mean, they might join the Democrats today. They'll be killing their dogs next week. You know?
They'll be even killing each other next week, probably.
That's
Who
true.
knows?
They kill more of themselves than they kill other people.
All in the name of Allah.
Right. No, there's no question
It makes
about
no
that.
sense to me whatsoever. It really doesn't. And I don't mean to be offensive, but I don't even care anymore. Screw you, Islam. You suck. So there is one more thing I wanted to point out.
All right, well, hold on. I'll keep you on the line. We'll bring you back. Ladies and gentlemen, your weekly jihad report seems appropriate to do that now. 37 jihad attacks, 206 killed, 161 injured, one suicide blast, all occurring in 13 countries. The Religion of Peace atrocity of the week. At least 17 people have been killed in Afghanistan in a powerful car bomb blast in Logar province. The explosion came on the eve of a ceasefire declared by the Taliban during the festival of Eid. The Taliban have denied responsibility for the attack, while the Islamic State has not yet commented. Other recent misunderstandings of Islam: on the 4th in Afghanistan, a bomb planted by religious extremists claimed 7 civilians. On the 3rd, in Ilhan Omar and Keith Ellison's Somalia, a suicide bomber blows himself up outside a restaurant, killing 2 guards. It's got to be tough when you got to have guards at the restaurant. On the 2nd, in Cameroon, Boko Haram throw grenades into a camp for displaced people, eliminating 18. On the 2nd, in Afghanistan, a suicide bombing sets off an attack on a prison that leaves 24 dead. On the 31st, let's go to Africa and Chad. Sharia proponents burn and loot a fishing village, killing 10 residents. And on the same continent, on the 30th in Nigeria, Boko Haram plant a bomb at a furniture store that kills the owner and his son. The Religion of Peace, ladies and gentlemen, one body at a time.
Allahu Akbar, Allah.
All right, Sean, bring it home. What's that? What's up? What's next?
Well, I got to say, we got to, in these cities that a lot of us are probably either stuck in or whatever, go out in numbers for your safety when it's a voting time. Because if they're going to start deploying their little militias, which I know they will, you need to come out in force, ladies and gentlemen. And I don't mean like go pick a fight with them. Just go to the voting booth, vote, but do it in numbers and do it, to where they can't say, oh, we can't go kill them or anything or shoot them. They can't do that if we show up in large.
Right. They're not gonna do that anyway. You know what I mean? Don't worry about that. And if you're afraid, that's okay. Just go out there and say Biden, Biden, Biden all the way in. You know what I mean? That's why the polls are this way. Even in my neighborhood today or yesterday, there's no political signs on my street. And yesterday, I watched my neighbors. They had gone out shopping, and I saw the woman carried a Trump yard sign into her house. I said, all right, it's on now. It's time. I have the signs, right? So I put 2 of them up. I put 2 of them up for Luke Negron. The guy's been on the show a couple times for my district. And another one went up down the street, and my next door neighbor's digging a post. He needs my post hole digger so he can plant a 35-foot flagpole that he's going to put a Trump flag on.
I found some ways online to, set some little traps here and there for a little liberal. I wouldn't really suggest doing this too much because you probably could hurt someone and then you get sued. But put a Trump yard sign down that is metal and
juice it.
Hook up some wires to a 12-volt car battery or something and hook it up to the sign. We'll see how that fares for the little liberal.
Well, I'll tell you what. I know Jack's thinking the same thing I am. In the military, our batteries are ganged together in a series called series parallel.
Right.
Oh.
A lot of current.
Yeah, 24 volts, but baby, there can be thousands of cold cranking amps going through that. I mean, there's been tales of people, mechanics like Jack and I, we never wore our dog tags. Because if you wear dog tags, which is a metal chain with your identification tags,
right,
all metal.
Right.
If that hits the battery circuit of an M60 or an M1 tank, those things have to be surgically removed from your neck.
Oh.
I never saw it happen, but that's what I taught people, and that's what I was taught. And I have arced. I mean, you arc a wrench, and it's cutting halfway through the wrench. You know what I mean? I know you've seen that, Jack.
It's like it's like a
unless you insulate
branding, self-branded with your own dog tag.
Yeah. All right, Sean. Thanks for calling. You have a great weekend.
You too, guys. Be safe.
All right.
Thanks, Sean.
Let's go to Missouri and bring Ralph into the program. Hello,
Ralph,
sir.
welcome.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Jocelyn Elders.
That's her. That's her.
Yep.
Every child,
ding, ding,
a
ding.
wanted child. He wins. I know you remember
And
that.
she also got on TV advocating teaching children to masturbate.
I remember that as well. I do. That was a horrible woman.
Had one of her kids got busted for dope or something, and it went public with the news media. I don't remember any of the details about it, and that was about the time that Slick Willie said, "You got to go, baby." Because I can't explain to women's groups why it's okay to teach their kids to masturbate.
Yeah, I remember
anyway,
that. What a clown show.
That was quite the White House old Slick Willie had.
Yeah, it was.
I tell you what,
Tomorrow
Go ahead.
USS St. Louis, LCS-19 in Florida, Mayport, Florida. If anybody wants to tune in and watch it, I'm quite sure that Breitbart or the U.S. Navy will carry it on their Facebook and all that.
What is it?
It looks. Sorry.
What is it?
Tomorrow.
No, what is it? What are you saying?
What?
Oh, we're christening a new ship in the Navy, the USS St. Louis, LCS-19.
LCS, landing craft. What's LCS?
That littoral combat ships, the independent variant. It's not
All
the
right.
catamaran. But anyway, it looks like the deal's pretty much inked with an Aussie company called Oz something or other, and Cerberus are putting $2 billion down to sign the deal to restart the shipyard and the I won't say U.S. military bases because that was one of the things they didn't want. However, they'll do shipbuilding and repair, and we have military aircraft and all that that's been operating off of there anyway. So they sort of kind of kicked us out during the Aquino administration when they got rid of Ferdinand Marcos, but then they kind of let us all back in there again, so to speak.
Yeah,
and
Subic Bay.
We're trying to get it, but the shipping company there, whatever that was trying to build all that up, went belly up, and that's when the co-venture between Cerberus and Aussie something or other company walked in there and said, hey, we'll build your ships for you because the Philippines are sticking a ton of money into corvettes and frigates and patrol craft. And that's part of the sweetheart deal.
Hey, sometimes you got to do what you got to do, you know?
Well, we get a repair operation again there, which means we're right sitting smack dab in the middle of the South China and Sea and in China's back door and all that, which, as we all know, they've been trying to take over that. But now Trump's got everybody and their brother sending ships, us, Britain, and everybody's got strike groups there. It's like, okay, you know, homie, don't play. You would get funny. Well, then they bring their 2 carriers and what few ships they got in their strike group. And if you ever want to see something funny, look up a video on YouTube that compares the old Russian designs that they're using right now for the 2 operational carriers they got compared to a Nimitz class, much less a Ford class aircraft carrier, and it's not even a fair fight.
That Ford class is a work of art too, boy. I'll tell you, I still remember that video of it going full speed and making. And I don't know the terminology, Ralph. So you know, give me a break.
That's part of the shakedown is to go flank speed, balls to the wall, and then go hard to port, then right hard to starboard.
Oh man, seeing that big ship do that is just man, it makes you want to like salute. You know, I love it.
Yeah, it's called grab something because you're going to be walking on the bulkheads.
Yeah, you better have your seatbelt on. Right.
That's it. Strap it down. China's still got a deal inked with the Iranians come October if they do not reinforce or renew the sanctions against Iran. So that means that they might want to get some payback for killing Dipstick with the Ginzu Hellfires.
Yeah.
And a few others.
Well,
because they put a Nimitz-class ship out there in the middle of the water. They actually built this thing, and they had all their missile boats and everything circle the stupid thing and shoot everything they got at it. That's happened this week, by the way.
Yeah.
And then they sunk it out there in the middle of the street. So
well,
it doesn't make any. I always said, hey, they don't shoot back. We do. You know?
Right. Oh no, there's no question, and it's one of the proudest legacies that I think I have on this show is back within the first 10 episodes. I think we started in 2010. This South China Sea thing has been going on for a while, and we've been reporting on it from day one. And you don't even hear Fox talk about it really, and it's a serious situation. I mean, it really is.
Yeah, when you just that point of fact of that the Philippines is now, you know, they had their little bit of independence, kicked the U.S. out and all that stuff, and going through it, and then you had the new leader that's fighting off the radical Islamists in Philippines. And now you get what you're talking about, the full-scale effort of the Chinese just moving slowly, but now they're to the point where what's going to happen to us?
They're running out of time.
We better get on this, you know.
China's running out of time, and you can thank President Trump for that. They really are. It's just going to be...
Bombers that Trump's doing. He's trying to mimic... Xi Jinping is trying to mimic everything that Trump has done as far as moving fighters, bombers, and everything else into that area.
I was talking about economics. See, the reason Xi Jinping and the Chinese Communist Party has power is because everybody's eating. And now that's starting to slip away with the unfair trade balance that the president is correcting the Republican Party and the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and getting it right.
Philippines looking for General MacArthur or Chairman Mao?
Yeah,
I think the answer's easy.
Yeah, where the food is. Thanks for calling, Ralph. You have a great weekend, sir. Always enjoy your call.
Thank you, Ralph.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Ken from King George, you're next.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Yeah, as far as the South China Sea, I wasn't listening to your show at the time, but we were talking about that when they were building those fake islands and stuff over there.
In the Sikaku Islands, yeah.
Spratly?
Spratly, yep.
And Obama didn't do dick. So, but as far as route, the only time you'll ever see a carrier do some maneuvers like that is during the sea trials and the shakedown period.
Or war.
I got to ride. well,
Obama did what? Didn't Obama depart Air Force One on the back stairs?
I don't know.
In China that one time.
Oh yeah. I forgot about that. He deplaned out the back door because they wouldn't give him an honor guard.
But no, I actually got to ride the USS Dennis for 2 weeks. That was a lot of fun.
I'll bet.
I never thought I would like carrier life because, not much of a people person. Or at least back then I wasn't. I'm like, man, 5,000 people crammed in the, but it's a floating city. I mean, they've got,
I'll bet the chow's good, especially at the beginning of the tour.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they run, the Senate actually had 3 different chow lines, and they had this baked potato bar that I don't know where they got these potatoes from. I think they probably picked them in Idaho and then sent them to Middletown, Pennsylvania to sit outside. But these things were freaking huge, man. They were about the size of a Nerf football.
That's a reference, ladies and gentlemen, to 3 Mile Island is what he's talking about.
But yeah, we had a pretty good time. I only spent 2 weeks there because the ship that I was stationed on got underway because of hurricane or bad weather or something, and I was on a ski trip out in Somerset, out at Seven Springs, of all places.
Beautiful joint. Been there several times. They haven't remodeled. They haven't remodeled that place since the 70s. I went out there a couple years ago, probably 10 years ago, and I remember going there as a kid, and it was the exact same. The exact same. I mean, they added a couple things, but the actual building, I mean, it was old, man. It was good. We had a good time, but just saying, little off-topic remark.
But yeah, what'd you think of the whole thing with Barr stopping and supporting that Back to Blue rally up there?
See, you're helping me out here because it's late in the show.
Oh, what a segue!
And now, that was beautiful. By the way, Attorney General Bill Barr had his driver turn around after he saw a group of protesters on the side of the road protesting in support of police officers, and this was in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Attorney General Barr told his driver to turn around and park the car, got out, and thanked protesters. I would play the video, but it wasn't worthy for a radio audience. There wasn't enough talking. But the people were just thrilled that he did that, and I commend him for that as well.
I'm not pleased as punch, right? He is like speechless. It's just a big, wide, ear-to-ear grin, and it's like, this is America.
Yeah, they were shaking. They were shaking hands too.
Yeah.
Fist bumping, elbow bumping, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Now, the funny thing you mentioned, you didn't have any audio, because I love you to death, Hutch, but you're not the only guy I listen to.
That's all right. Hey, long as you're here every night, that's all I care about.
But the one other person that I listened to that's on WMAL actually had a caller call into his show that was at that rally.
Nice.
And apparently she's trying to head up some kind of nationwide type thing to organize more rallies like this. So,
well, I mean, you have to think of the police, man. Think of these guys. They're not making any money, man. You know what I mean? They're making enough to survive. But
right.
What they're getting put through right now, These people that are talking about defunding police need to get checked. I mean, really. You want to defund, hey, Nancy Pelosi, Gerald Nadler, Joe Biden, all you. You know what, let's defund the police. But the number one, the first one that gets defunded is the Capitol Police. Let's defund them first. No more guards for any of you sorry pricks. That's what I say, and I know that won't happen because that's the nature of this game. Nothing that they say applies to them ever.
The anti-American protests and looters and destructors, they're all heavily paid. They're heavily financed. They're making money by destroying this country.
This is true.
So, I mean, right there is an advantage because the conservatives and the centrists and the silent majority, they're at work.
Right.
They're still keeping this economy going right now.
And I take it back to Mumbai Mike Lee. You think he doesn't have money in his account that came from India? And he's got money in his account that came from Google. You know, I mean, the Park City NSA repository's right there. I don't know if it's Park City or Salt Lake City, but it's right. I saw it. I just can't remember.
Yeah, it's
which end
bad
it was on.
because even Romney, his name and
Utah, man,
try
Utah
to raise him up
GOP
as a successful business. He was a vulture capitalist.
Yeah.
Bought companies, threw
Sure.
every worker out, restructured it, and sold it to the lowest bidder. Whatever.
You know, I was thinking. You know what I was
parasite.
thinking? Here's how bad the Republican Party is, the establishment. Think about this for a second, guys. We had a ticket of Romney Ryan. How bad for America could that have been? And we were cheerleading. We were sending money. You know, I could. There's probably tapes of me out there calling him the second coming. You know, trying to get him across the line. He didn't even want to win. He let Cheryl or Candy Crowell dump all over him. Candy Crowley.
Yep,
it's unreal.
No. Oh yeah, and then what was the former Harry Reid said, you know, oh well, Romney never hasn't paid his taxes and all this other shit. And they ran with that like you know, oh hell, this is the Hail Mary, we're running towards the end zone, you know.
Did you ever see the movie Casino?
Oh yeah.
You remember when Lefty Rosenthal was in there and he was getting his he was having his hearing with the Gaming Commission and they disbarred him or whatever. Well, the guy that he gave all the comps to and everything else like that was Harry Reid, man. That was the guy. The guy in the movie that shit-canned Lefty was Harry Reid. And in real life, I mean, it was. You know, that guy's mobbed up since way back, and I don't know.
And that crushed orbital eye socket was not him exercising and falling on the equipment.
That was him getting hit in the face with a pool cue, boy. But all right, Ken, man, anything else? I'm running out of time here. I got a couple things I got to do.
No, not really. I just,
Thanks for listening. Appreciate it.
Well, actually, I do have one other thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Jack's easy. I could stay a little longer because Jack's easy on that. But go ahead.
Well, yeah. When Ralph was talking about walking on the bulkheads.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was on a cruiser, right? Now the whole time we were on the carrier, I think we took a 4-degree roll, and it took forever to go 4 degrees one way and 4 degrees the other way, right? And
you mean listing or turning?
Now we were just listing, right? They might have been doing some kind of maneuver to get, because the carrier's always got to be pointed towards the wind when they're doing flight ops.
Right.
Helps with the whole,
if you say so.
System. And,
right.
So, anyways, so they're always pointed whichever way the wind's blowing. That's kind of the way the carrier's going, right?
Got it.
Well, and they were doing a set speed. Well, for us, that's we got to do this what they call plane guard. So if one doesn't actually land, we're like the basically the first responders, to get, snag the pilot out the water, all that, Well,
you just gave me a flashback.
Trying to keep up with when we're trying to keep up with the carrier, and they're making these minute maneuvers. For us, it's we're like, oh shit, and when you got to grab like one side of your tray, and then okay,
yeah, that would be tough on me.
You learn different ways.
It's like when you're trying to stab a fish in the water, you have to like anticipate where that target looks. That's what he's doing with his macaroni and cheese and dish.
There you go.
Rolling. Yeah.
All right, Ken, thanks for calling, man. You have a great weekend.
All right, you bet, brother.
All right, that reminded me of a story, Jack, that you're going to probably be able to relate to. This was back in the 80s. This was in the 80s for sure. I was probably a sergeant, or I might have been a staff sergeant. I think I was a sergeant, but at some point I was in an armor company, and we were at annual training down in Fort Pickett, Virginia. And my company commander decided that it would be a good idea if we road marched these M60A3s, but headquarters company was coming along with the road march. And I say road march, we're driving. Right. So the company commander decides to leave the tank trail, right, which is gravy if you're on an M60. But I was driving a deuce and a half.
Right, you get the wheeled vehicles.
I got the truck. I got the tool truck, right? Not the tool truck. I had a truck that had a regular cargo bed. I don't remember, but the canvas on the roof was off, right? And we had a M6 or a M2, a 50 caliber ring mount. A ring mount. It didn't have a 50 in it though. And Ken made me think of this when he said plane watch. We had air guards. You remember the air guards? The assistant driver had to, he was responsible for shooting at any enemy planes.
Yeah, up in the sky.
So I got this turret mechanic that's in the 50 cal ring up there, standing on the seat, up, through the 50 cal ring with his M16, and he's playing air guard. and these tanks decided to take off. And then I come up to this, I come up to where the company commander himself is looking at he's like Patton. He's a captain. He's looking at everybody, and you know how you pump your fist up and down to go fast? I get up there, and he's pumping his fists up and down, and we're talking uneven terrain here, right? Not a trail. We're going through the frickin' woods, right? And I got so mad at this idiot. I put
the dudes in 6x6 mode.
Right.
Come on.
It's like, come on, man. And I see him pumping his fists. And I was like, you MFer. And I freaking gunned it. I forgot about my man that was air guard. I gunned it and took this deuce and a half through all this stuff for about 30 seconds, trying to keep up with this tank that was in front of me. And then I was like, oh, shit, what about Hemperly? And I looked over. He's like draped over the thing. Oh, I wore him out. I almost killed him. I just remembered that I thought I'd share it with everybody because those were the days.
I never gave up my position, Sarge.
Poor guy, man. Oh, I'm surprised he still had his rifle.
These 6 stitches was from an oak, and the rest were from coniferous pines.
Yeah, a lot of pines down there. Yeah. So let's go to former DNI, Director of National Intelligence, Richard Grinnell, posted a video today that could not be more devastating for the Biden campaign. I want you to listen to this. It's called What Happened to Joe? And it's side-by-side video, which you're going to hear the audio. If you want to check the video, go to video 2 at steelcityresistance.com. And it shows Joe like in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and then it shows him now. This is devastating.
You ask anybody in there whether or not the economic and foreign policy of this administration has made them better off in the last 8 years. And in addition to that, we have to make sure that we are in a position that we can insure every single solitary kid. We can provide catastrophic health insurance right off the bat. We can do that for the cost of just one thing, the tax cut for people in the top 1%. And with I don't know. You got to give them to the people who are going to spend the money. You got to deal with making sure American companies can be competitive, have a health care plan that doesn't put them at a disadvantage when they compete overseas. There's during World War II, where Roosevelt came up with a thing that was totally different than he called it
What happened to Joe?
Corn pop.
Yeah, corn pop for VP, right? This is unreal, man. It really is. You think about it. If Biden gets elected, who's going to be president? We don't even know.
Yeah.
Somebody's running him. Probably it might be Hillary.
It's funny to the point where you think that it's not beyond the realm of who's running around and who's in charge of media of pulling this off. I posted into our VFW chat room. That's Weekend at Biden's. It's the sequel, but it's Bernie's Revenge, right?
Could
the
be.
First movie was Weekend at Bernie's. Bernie Sanders, boom. He's independent his whole life until he wants to run for president. And the Democrats let him take the Democrat Party symbol so he can gather, the money and all this. So he's infected the Democrat side at least the last two presidential election cycles, right?
And I mean, he threatened, or I should say his communist people threatened to blow up the Democrat, not literally, to wreck the Democrat National Convention. And as soon as that happened, you saw all this leftward movement. This guy, man, he's not for anything. I heard somebody say today, I think it was Theismann, the guy on Fox News. I can't stand him. I forget his name. Mark Theismann or Mark Heisman or something. He Thiessen, yeah. I think it was him, was saying how, no, you know what? It wasn't him. It was somebody else that I don't know. But they were saying how Joe Biden will definitely need to protect him, and she has to do that. And I'm thinking, that woman is letting him go through this. If I was Joe Biden, I mean, I'd be thinking about divorcing her. But he's not even thinking. He doesn't know how bad of a situation he's in. Because the one thing is, if he gets elected, he's overboard within 2 weeks.
Well, this is. I mean, it's unprecedented. You would think that the Democrat Party would already realize that as much as they tried to bring Hillary Clinton across the finish line to be the ceiling is broken, I'm the first female president and all that, and you saw the videos of her stumbling, fumbling, passing out.
Yeah.
Her physical, just seeing how she was hurt her election chances more than Trump did. You know what I'm saying? Just the people seeing her in those conditions and then having the Democrats lie about her condition. And on top of that, all of the polling and all the media is basically saying, "Oh, there's no way in hell that Trump can win." And boom, America spoke up.
And what are they doing
the
right
same
now?
thing
They're
again.
waiting. They're waiting until deep into September. This debate committee, RNC, you worthless hacks, you better get some leverage in there. They're going to let the debate start after millions of votes have already been cast. You people are enemy. I don't know any other way to characterize it.
Is that
they have no fight in them?
Romney's niece
yeah,
is in charge
McDaniel.
of
yeah.
the RNC, right?
It's freaking terrible. Yeah.
They complained about why isn't Trump is wanting a debate before mail-in ballots are.
That's all
cast.
he wants. He wants because you should
Why
have to see
wasn't
this
the
guy.
RNC there asking for that without the president saying, "Wait a minute, how the hell did this happen?" You know.
I'll tell you, RNC mail goes directly to the trash. Never gets opened. It goes directly to the trash. You could save some money, RNC. Quit sending me anything because you suck, in my opinion. In my opinion, you're the cause of a lot of the things that we're going through in this country right now. And no, I'm not playing your games, and you can stick CPAC up your third point of contact. If you don't want to give me credentials, that's fine. I don't care because you're worthless anyway. Rocky, California, go.
Safety brief. You know, we all been under lockdown for a while now, and I think it's about time that we catch it loose for a weekend.
Rocky ran out of Pop-Tarts. What's happening?
I want you to wear your masks.
We have an additional chapter.
Don't be desecrating your masks.
Don't be fornicating.
If you're going to drink, don't drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink. If you're going to have sex, wear a condom. You got my number? Don't call me.
Rocky, ladies and gentlemen, president of the Cold War Radio, VFW. Here, I have a caller for you, Rocky.
Battalion! Battalion! Go! Yes, miss! Woo! I don't want none of you ladies moping and crying. Miss Stash has got to go now. Hey, turn.
Break that hippie shit off your lip. You mocking the grooming standard, Stafford?
Nah, Sergeant Major. He's Scrooby.
I want to see clean, purty smile before we step off. Oh, this shit! We're in the middle of it now, boys! Garza! Get your stupid ass down! Ain't nothing for you to shoot at! Fuck! Reverend
Standards!
My first light's tomorrow. I expects all y'all to have been clean shaven.
After what we just been through.
There's lots can go wrong out here. Like a bakery, a cold cow, like a pussy. But the one thing these men can count on is a grooming standard. I believe it always ought to be there for them.
What's this about you losing your Kevlar?
It bounced off my head, Sergeant Major, last night.
Bounced off your head?
I was up on the 50 cal and the Humvee went over a berm, Sergeant Major.
That Kevlar wasn't yours to lose! That was the property of this United States Marine Corps! Belonged to every Marine! Cause of your failure to secure that hammock, you jeopardized every Marine serving today!
I was considering NJP in your ass.
Sergeant Colbert! This is what happens when you don't enforce grooming standards. The men's gets all lax,
And then other standards fall. Double dog here stops using his chin strap, goes over a bump. Kevlar goes flying off his head. And our protective posture is weakened.
Now there's that devil dog. You're squealing like a bunchy butt-fuck dasher beat you! Unfuck yourself! We gonna suffer the spectacle of a WM with the dogs trailing their stern. Get yourself squared up here. Come. inappropriating your chemical filtration device by attempting fornication with. Jesus, not to tell you not to desecrate your mask with perversions. Why the fuck are your helmets?
And the funny thing is, they're out. Guys like him are out there. Rocky, thanks for calling. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, that was it. A lot of people have been having a hard time this last couple of weeks that I've, been hearing on the show, and I thought it'd been a while since I called in, and everybody's tired of this lockdown, so.
Sure.
I thought, you know what? I gave everybody a limo for the weekend.
There you go. Give them a day off. That's what they need. Take yourself a day off too, man. Have a good weekend.
All right. Thank you, sir.
We'll get back at him next week. All right. Thanks, Rocky. The president of the VFW, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to the podcast, and you can possibly get here on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, it's a blast in the chat room. Don't just listen to the show. Make sure you look for that little caption icon and hit it so you can get in the chat room. A great benefit of this program that most don't have, Jack.
Yeah, well, great accumulation of knowledge, different points of opinion, but all 100% patriotic Americans who love the founding principles as we do.
Indeed. I knew a guy. He's still out there on Twitter. His name's Bill Mitchell. And he came on the Wayne Dupree show when I was there one or two times. And I kind of wish Stacy was listening to this because she'd crack up. I basically told him he sounded like shit and needed to fix his program, his studio.
Right.
And he got all upset and, he left. And, the president retweeted him or something, and he automatically got this big following and just ridiculous. And I'm watching this show on Spreaker, right? And I don't know how he did it. Wayne and I talked about this a few times. He had a lot of listeners, right? A lot of listens to his show. Spreaker used to differentiate between live listeners and downloads, right? They don't anymore. But he had all these listeners, all these live listeners, more than we had. But then you looked at his comments and his likes, and he'd have 2 likes. I hope everybody's liking this, by the way. There's a little bit of a lack of liking the show on Spreaker.
So you're talking about manipulating the system, gaming?
Yeah. Oh, man, the dude had 6 comments. Well, let me tell you, in this chat room, it's a regular event when there's 1,000 comments for our show.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm just saying, some shows
sharing information, sharing news, regional information.
Right.
I mean, you're talking.
I only wish that we had a chat room that you could post images. I might talk to Spreaker about that. There was another platform that I was on or something that had a chat room where you could actually post images. And man, that would really bring it up a lot. It would bring, not that it matters. I mean, I'm just saying it is a phony show, in my opinion. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. All right, to close this up a little bit, I should talk about this too. Man, there's so much I missed today. Okay, let me try to.
No rush here. If you need information to get out to the listeners and the folks that are going to tune in later, get it out there, Chief. Get it out.
All right, Sarge. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna cover everything, but I'm gonna do it a little bit in a manner that it's not like if I was doing it at the beginning of the show. I'm just gonna skim over these things because they're important. I wish I had this clip from Ronald Reagan. This story, though, I think of this every time I hear a story like this. Students and staff at the University of Georgia held a die-in on Thursday to protest the school's decision to reopen for the fall semester. Well, first of all, if you don't want the school to reopen and you're a student at the University of Georgia, withdraw.
Bingo.
Get out of the school, moron. You know, and since when do students get to dictate any damn thing? You know, that was the Reagan comment back in the 70s. He's like, when do students get to dictate policy at schools? I mean, come on. These people, the University of Georgia graduate students, organized the protest in front of the university's administration building on Thursday, according to a report by the Athens Banner Herald. The protesters laid sprawled out on the grass to appear as if they were in a cemetery in front of the school's administration building.
Elizabeth, I'm coming to join you.
Yeah, the big one. Like they were in a cemetery and held up signs in the form of gravestones. "I can't teach when I'm dead," read one protester's sign. "R.I.P. campus safety," read another. "How many will UGA let die?" It's sickening, Jack. I mean, they're too stupid to realize that the only people that are in danger are those aged communist professors. They're good. Of course,
and I'm sure the local news and all of the, the mainstream media that grasp upon these people risking their future.
Oh yeah,
for safety of the entire community. It's like, what? Come on, man.
The clip that I played. Come on, man. The clip that I played earlier about the teachers unions, that came from the Job Creators Network, one of the country's largest pro-jobs organization, because they're getting junk out of these schools, man. I mean, these kids are coming out, they hate themselves, especially if they're white. If they're not white, they hate everybody that's white. It's sickening.
It is. And that is actually, if you listen to a lot of what Schumer and Pelosi are trying to, mine out of the next bailout bill, one of them has to deal with money to the states and the local communities and these educators.
My mayor, he put something out today about from the United Federation of Cities or something, that the president needs to bail out these municipalities. Man, screw you. Screw you. Starve Pittsburgh out. Starve them out, man. Let them blame the people that are doing this, not you. You know, I love his idea.
Already trillions sent.
Yeah.
You know? And you talked earlier in the show about the death count and all of this COVID-19 related information. And we've seen the news coming out of New York where there's been an inflation in the numbers because Cuomo and the state of New York want more federal relief. And they're thinking, hey, the more victims that we have, the more money we're going to get from the federal.
I'll tell you what, Republican senators, Pat Toomey, you're the biggest rhino out there. If you give these people this money, and if there was any other president in the entire Republican establishment, this money would already be at the city's door. Guaranteed. No question, no ifs, ands, or buts. If Romney was president, Bush, anybody, with the possible exception of Ben Carson, this money would have been given to these communist morons in these cities, in these failed cities, mismanaged cities. Don't give them anything. Let the voters have a little pain so they can realize what's happening to them. That's what I say.
This can't. And the way that the president came out tonight and with the news, basically that he's getting ready to use his executive powers to
he said, I got a pen and I got a phone, boy.
Right.
That's right.
And it's my turn, you know.
It is. And it's a shame. It's a shame. It's criminal. And I can't stand Mitch McConnell, but thank you for holding steady. I don't know how long you can do that, but hopefully Xi Jinping will let you continue what you're doing for right now. Minnesota's largest newspaper, the Star Tribune, has endorsed Representative Ilhan Omar's primary challenger, pointing out that his integrity and progress as the main reason for their choice. The decision from Omar's hometown newspaper, no, her hometown is Mogadishu, was announced Wednesday in an editorial which concluded that Omar's Democrat primary challenger, Antone Melton Mew, would be a better fit to represent the district in Congress. According to the paper, Omar is too concerned with picking fights from across the aisle. While Omar wants to lead a movement, Melton Mew seeks to serve the 5th District, the Star Tribune wrote. There are many ways to fight for change, few of them easy when tackling entrenched systems and interests. Omar says she will fight hard for big ideas, but the point of the fight, after all, is the change. And that often requires the ability to forge alliances and persuade, and I'll add my words, and to trick stupid Republicans into going along with you.
Yeah. You might think, hey, this is cool. There's a change coming from the district that she's, but no, this is more of the same, just somebody so far with less baggage, because Ilhan Omar is, if you're paying attention, they married the brother, get him in here, leave him, leave her other husband, marry a lobbyist or somebody that she's funneling $1 million+ to in her re-election campaign. That's Ilhan Omar that they're trying to get rid of. And
they waited deep into the article before saying, the paper also noted Omar's 2018 victory launched her into the national spotlight as the first Muslim woman and first refugee elected to Congress. But her time has been marred by missteps, including remarks on Israel widely regarded as anti-Semitic. A Muslim, you think? You think, people?
Shocking.
An outsized number of missed votes and campaign finance issues. In addition to the criticism of Omar's remarks on Israel, the paper also highlighted that Omar has sent more than $1.6 million to her husband's D.C. It's like her third husband since she got elected.
Yeah.
E Street Group, and is herself the target of a Federal Election Commission complaint regarding travel expenses.
It's racist.
They don't even mention that she married her brother in there, but
racist.
And one of the coolest stories that I've seen, Evangelicals for Trump yesterday held a campaign event at Ahern Hotel and Convention Center, a joint hotel and casino in Las Vegas. Democrat Nevada Governor Sisolik, in his recent coronavirus order, capped houses of worship at 50 people, while casinos are allowed 50% capacity. Well, Christians aren't still around because they're stupid. They went to the casino and threw down, man. They had like a revival. And it was all good, man. And I think that's
amazing?
great.
I mean, at first I was like, what in the world are they doing in the casino? And then I read it. It's because the Supreme Court says we can't worship in church, but the casinos can be at 50% capacity. Let's go worship in the casino.
Yeah. You know what else people started doing? They started going to Walmart to worship.
Yeah.
There's all kind of cool things going on, man. There really is. I talked about DNI Grinnell. The president was at Whirlpool yesterday, and he had a great speech, too. I don't know if you saw that, but it was among the claims from the corporate media that he was tired and his mental acuity was off, and now all you got to do is watch that from yesterday or today's too. Guy's fully in charge. But he made a remark at this event yesterday that was a little cryptic and kind of scared me a little bit. Let's listen.
They are so wealthy. They are so wealthy. Nobody has.
He's talking about the middlemen in between big pharma and the buying public when it comes to pharmaceuticals.
They are so wealthy. They are so wealthy. Nobody has any idea who the hell they are, what they do. They make more money than the drug companies. In all fairness, at least the drug companies have to produce a product, and it has to be a good product. But the middlemen, Well, the rebate that I'm doing cuts out the middlemen and it reduces costs, and the money goes back to the people purchasing the drugs. So I have a lot of enemies out there. This may be the last time you'll see me for a while. A lot of very, very rich enemies, but they are not happy with what I'm doing. But I figure we have one chance to do it, and no other president's going to do what I do. No other president would do a favored nations, a rebate, a buy from other nations at much less cost. Nobody. And there are a lot of unhappy people, and they're very rich people, and they're very unhappy.
I don't know what to make of that, other than the fact that President Trump, if you need to get in the bunker, go to the damn bunker. We need you.
I mean,
we need you.
Like you said, it's cryptic, but strategic. I mean, when he was elected, he said he was, this prescription drug price thing he's dealt with. And, we had the full GOP House, Senate, and the White House. 2 years they did nothing. Then, America failed America, and you got the Pelosi in charge of the House since 2018. And President Trump's like, right now, I'm going to do whatever I can do. My security be damned, and I'm going to do something about this because Congress isn't helping me out. That's why he did the Wartime Act with Kodak. We were talking about that last week.
Sure.
Bringing Kodak, their manufacturing capabilities, and that large facility to the point where they're going to be producing pharmaceuticals there. And then this week doing what he did, which is why he's, hey, we're going to make prescription drug prices on par with anyone around the world.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize the whole situation he's talking about. If you go down to Uruguay or some Central American country or some Eastern European countries, they're all serviced by big pharma in the United States, but they pay a tenth of what we pay. In other words, what we do, we finance the drug use of the world by the prices that are charged to us for pharmaceuticals. And that is anti-American, criminal, just despicable. And they got rich over it. The middlemen. And let me tell you who the middlemen are. The drug dealers. Because that's what they are. I don't know if you know anybody in the medical field, but anybody that's in a doctor's office that has a decent business, you get visited by all these companies all the time. And when they come, they lay out the roast beef and the ham and, the lunch buffet, and they come with all the different little toys, the pens and the different.
And their samples, and they say, hey.
Samples, right. I lived
up. Kickback for you if you start prescribing this.
Those samples, I take a medication. The medication I've been taking the longest is for acid reflux disease. And, I've been taking it 30, 40 years. 35 years, maybe. And I spent over a year because a buddy of mine, a friend of my ex-wife that lived next door, worked in one of these offices and used to bring me the samples of the Prilosec. There was 7 in a bottle. She'd bring me a whole bag full of these things. It was because I'm going to take advantage of it. You know what I mean? If it was so bad that when I went back to when we no longer knew her, I went back to get the prescription. They were like, "No, man, you haven't taken this in like a year and a half."
It's like,
I was like, "Oh, okay." But anyway, so there's that. I just wanted to, put that out there. It's real.
No,
you should see some of the flashlights and pens and stuff that I still have from that. They used to buy doctors off. I had a battalion commander that told me one time that doctors are nothing more than drug dealers. They're out there. This is all a big money game, man.
Big time. When you combine that, like the pharmaceuticals with the insurance companies, right? Because most people, or most of the people that do have a decent health insurance, I'm talking pre-Affordable Care Act, all right, our copay is this, and then we don't really look at what they're charging the government for that same pill. As long as we're paying like less than $5 for our prescription, but then if you take a deeper look and look at that, they're charging the government $150 for these same pills that you're talking about in Uruguay and all that, where they're paying $1 for a dozen,
Indeed, no question. Finally, Congressman Andy Biggs posted a column, "Time for Fauci and Birx to exit left stage." I would have entitled "Exit Stage Left," but he titled it "Exit Left Stage." The sell-by date of Dr. Anthony Fauci's usefulness has expired. He should exit the public stage that he so obviously enjoys. His long tenure as a healthcare bureaucrat should come to an end. He has proven more adept as a showman than as a doctor. We have now reached the stage where the most dangerous place in Washington, D.C. is between Benito Fauci and a camera. If he's not tossing out the first pitch at a baseball game, and what it was? He's preening in shades, sitting by a pool.
Or he's at that same ball game that he threw out the first pitch, sitting in the stands next to two people who are wearing masks, and his mask was not on.
Right. I mean, these guys, they both ought to go, man. I mean,
but he's what? He's one of the swamp. He's one of the unelected policy people that his whole career has been in D.C.
Right.
They don't get paid enough to be ethical. They get paid enough on the backside, or they get paid enough on the backside to where they are prone to accepting outside influence, giving them money on the side to do deals with their power within the silent side of the government, right? He is talking down hydroxychloroquine, which is, if that in the initial stage of folks that contract COVID-19, if you catch it early and you give them that treatment with the zinc and the Z-Pack, there's very good results from that. They don't want that to be out there as a viable alternative because nobody's going to make money off of that. This is the whole deal.
And like I said,
they're not caring about the health of these people. All they're caring about is this is let no opportunity go to waste, and this is an opportunity for these folks to enrich themselves.
It is, and like I said, I've heard that he's got skin in the game on a vaccine. Yeah. Maybe he does and maybe he doesn't, but the guy's been wrong about everything. I mean, just think about it. He told the President of the United States 2.5 million Americans would die if the economy was not shut down. A complete, total lie. Anyone else, even if it wasn't a lie, even if he really believed it, which I don't think he did, if you make a mistake of that magnitude anywhere else in the world, you're fired at least. At least.
You saw his snarkiness that he was in front of a committee last week when questioned about
the protesters.
He was basically a smart ass, a typical far left or globalist smart ass sitting in the chair.
It makes you want to break his nose, man. It really does. It really does.
They all are, because that's what Sally Yates was earlier this week.
Birx is the same way. Birx said that we should not go back to normal until we're down to 5%. Really? I mean, are you serious? Do you know what that will do? They're using hydroxychloroquine all over the world. I would like to see a lawsuit at the end of this against Cuomo and anybody else who downplayed the science on hydroxychloroquine, Z-Pack, and zinc. And they ought to be executed. I mean, the amount of people that died that could have lived because of that political bullshit is nuts.
It is.
Now I want to. We're going to go to winners and losers in a second. But first, I want to lighten it back up a little bit. I found a clip of something that I loved. I don't know. Do you remember Cheech and Chong?
Yeah, the dog. Something about the.
No, just do you remember the two Cheech and Chong? They had like a bunch of different movies and
smells like I
that there. Well, they did a thing. This is a father, and it's a little bit earlier than today's culture, but it's basically a father that worked his whole life, and his wife's there. He's obviously rich, and Chong is by the blender making a smoothie, looking like a hippie. Never had a job or anything. This is his dad trying to counsel him, and I'll just let's lighten it up for a couple minutes.
Son, your mother and me would like for you to cozy up to the Finkelstein boy. He's a bright kid, and he's going to military school, and remember, he was an Eagle Scout. And
Arnold,
will you shut up? We're not going to have a family brawl.
And a retard.
We put up with a hell of a lot. In this way, build your goddamn muscles, huh? You could build your muscles picking strawberries. Bend and stoop, like the Mexicans. Shit, maybe I could get you a job with United Fruit. I got a buddy with United Fruit. Get you started. Start with strawberries. You might work your way up to these goddamn bananas. When, boy? When are you gonna get your act together?
Gross.
Oh, good God almighty me. I think he's the Antichrist. Anthony, I want to talk to you. Now listen, don't walk away from me when I'm talking to you. You get a goddamn job before sundown, or we're shipping you off to military school with a goddamn Finkelstein shit kid. Son of a bitch.
Just a soundbite that got me through my tour in Korea.
They had some
son of a bitch.
Remember the one? I remember class.
Yeah. Shut up. Oh, what great stuff, man! Real comedy. Winners and
none
losers.
of that. None of that would have been allowed to be aired or heard today, right?
You can go out there and pick them bananas like the Mexicans. No, it wouldn't have been advisable. Winners and losers, Jack. We're at the end of the show. It's time to do this. Go.
My winner for this week. He was on the air earlier tonight and actually cut into some of our time. But the president went on the air talking about the TVA, Tennessee Valley Authority, and it was breaking news to me. I didn't know that this place. I know about the Tennessee Valley Authority, why it was created. It was utilized to basically win World War II at the time, right?
And provide jobs.
That's like homework for you all who don't know what I'm talking about over the weekend. But it is still in existence. It manages a large amount of dams, locks, and it basically controls a lot of energy production, which is green energy because it's utilizing the power of water, rivers, and all that to create power. But I didn't know that it was, being run by basically a corporation and the chairman.
It's not public, and I'm not sure if the guy that's making $8 million a year. I'm not sure if that's the guy he fired.
Yeah,
he fired the chairman of the board of directors.
That's the guy he fired.
Okay,
and he put ultimatum down to the rest of the board. He said, "You're not going to sit there and fire and lay off Americans, and then have them teach incoming foreign H-1B or whatever that thing is, and pay those folks less, and have the people that you're laying off train them to do the job that you're getting laid off from."
Right.
Which right there is like, how the hell could that even happen? I didn't know that it was run by a board of directors.
It's like public.
And all this
it's a
stuff.
private public thing. It's weird.
Right.
the way it's set up. And it was initially set up to provide jobs, but also along with it was the electrification of areas that did not have electricity at that time.
The number one deal why that was raised up was part of the Manhattan Project.
Right.
And,
which was our,
like I said, if you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, do some research over the weekend. There's plenty of videos and documentaries on the TVA, but it does provide a lot of power through that whole region. And what President Trump did, he said basically tonight, he's like, I fired the chairman last week. I don't know how the hell he makes $8 million a year doing this.
That was beautiful. That was a beautiful part of the speech.
What he said.
President Trump, don't make speeches that start at 20 to 8, man, on a Friday. Don't do that, please, because I'm sitting there trying to watch it, and I had to cut it off at one point to get ready for the show. But I did hear that part, and it was beautiful.
It's amazing because he said he went right to the top because they went and looked through and it's like, yes, it's in my purview as president of the United States to get rid of your ass, and I just did it. And he told the rest of them, he said, you need to come up with some other solution than what the hell you're trying to pull. This is buy American, hire American presidency, and they capitulated this week. This is 1 week. They fired him last week, and this Friday, that was one of his
because he told him, he said, if you don't capitulate, I'm coming back. I'm going to fire more of you guys.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So that's good for those folks. I mean, nobody wants it, and you've always been on Mumbai Mike Lee from Utah, and that's basically what he's trying to do.
You're damn right,
He's trying to cater to bringing in more foreign workers to undercut and take away jobs.
And don't ever think, ladies and gentlemen, that he gives a rat's ass about them Indians. He's making money. That's all he's doing. He's making big money, and he ought to be exposed for the fraud that he is. Sorry, go ahead.
It's a damn shame. It's like you said, there's so many on the right that are just as culpable as those on the left.
You're damn right.
As far as trying to destroy this country.
And we will, I promise you,
us.
And I promise you, ladies and gentlemen, this is not a Republican show. I don't give a damn about the Republican Party or CPAC or anything else. I care about my country, and I care about you. And if the Republicans are stepping in the dog doo-doo, I'm going to tell you. And I don't care. I've had other people associated with the show to tell me to calm down on Fox News, and no, I'm not doing it, man. I'm not doing it. Go ahead.
So you call that. So that was the winner. Loser, I could throw a little thing for Schumer and Pelosi for what they're doing with this final bailout, or I could go at Biden for his missteps and all this. But, come to think of it, I'm going to make the loser of the week anybody on the Democratic Party that lives in inner cities that is still supporting weekend at Biden's candidacy after all of the evidence from not just this presidential campaign, but his whole history when he was cognitive, when he was coherent, when he was in command of his faculties, his history in the Senate, plenty of opportunities to see his racism leak out. Right?
If we had a president like President Trump for 10 more years, 20 more years, we could create an agency within the new Department of Justice where somebody would mathematically and forensically take a guy like Biden and take his salary and multiply it times how many years he's been paid that salary and take his personal worth and investigate it. Biden's worth billions, man, now. He's owned by the
all
Chinese Communist Party, the Ukrainian government. Who knows who else, and who knows who else is affected by this same theft? Because I guarantee you'll find it in Mike Lee. You know, you'll find
John Kerry, right? John Kerry's kid is married to Iranian, and he has been basically pulling Iran's
Obama
weight. You know,
sure, it's sickening, and it's so easy to fix. You know, I heard somebody say something one time. If the government wanted, in other words, if the Republican Party wanted to end illegal immigration, it'd be ended. If they wanted to end any of these things, it would be ended. They have the power. They just don't have the will. I wonder why.
Because
I'll let
chaos
you guys
is
figure that
much
out.
better, right?
You're damn right.
Look at the level it's went. They went from we're not having voter ID. We're going to give driver's license to illegal immigrants. We're not going to hold violent criminals in prison. We're going to make sure that they get out, because if we charge them bail, then that's somehow racist. So we're going to let them out on the streets.
And we're going to allow all
at the same
of our
time, you're going to
esteemed-
introduce, we're going to mail a ballot to every single citizen that we have on our books in each location, which is probably the worst.
When you look at what they're really doing on the personal level, you've seen the skyrocketing crime in New York City. Do you know that people, citizens in New York City that live under the Constitution of the United States cannot purchase pepper spray? Did you know that? I didn't until yesterday.
Yeah,
They
you call the
cannot-
police, and what is there?
Cannot
There's no
purchase
response.
pepper spray. Can't purchase a gun. I mean, there's ways you can, but you
FBI says you can't get it even if you don't have a mark
and that's,
on
and that's
your
a shotgun.
record, right?
That's a shotgun. The easiest
Yeah.
weapon to obtain. It's unbelievable. All right, my winners and losers. My winner this week is Walmart. They're offering free drive-in movies at their parking lots at 160 stores. Walmart, my hat is off to you. That is something that I think this country really needs. Things like that. Somebody at Walmart realized it. I don't know if it's a marketing thing. I don't care. I want to go see a movie myself. Unfortunately, Hollywood doesn't make any movies anymore, so I won't be going. But the thought is there, you know, in my opinion. My loser, Mumbai Mike Lee. You suck, man. And I hope conservatives drop your ass like the idiot moron that you are, because you suck. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I don't care how you rationalize it. You're an American first, man. And to do that is beyond the pale to me, Jack. It just really is. I can't.
And he's one of the ones that snuck in like a thief in the night during the Tea Party deal, right?
He was so righteous and constitutionally rooted, and like I said, Glenn Beck thought he was the coming Messiah, and you know, it's sickening. It is absolutely
Utah
disgusting.
has a history of doing that. You know, you have Romney and Mike Lee.
Yeah, that's a weird
And
statement.
if you remember Egg McMuffin, who
McMullen,
the
sure.
establishment Republicans produced former CIA agent out of Utah to try and defeat Trump, the candidate, to help the number two, whoever was still left at that time.
Yeah.
I think it was Ted Cruz.
Kasich.
No, I think it was
Kasich
Ted
or
Cruz.
Cruz, either one of them. One of those two. Those were the last two.
Yeah. Kasich bombed himself with a pancake mess up in the New England area, right?
Yeah, plus
You know,
he's a
shove-
true scumbag too. I mean, he's
Yeah, he is. Man, it's like so bad. You know, how bad has I mean, we live in such a free country that the entire country. I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, Independent. We were put to sleep by these sons of bitches that are embedded in our federal government.
Man, I'm glad it's not just me, man. I'm telling you, you're right. You are 100% right. We were put to sleep. I'm looking over at my Romney Ryan sign and my McCain Palin sign. What a bunch of losing people. It might be time for a third party. Well, let's see what happens with this election. But maybe the president, I said this for a long time. All he has to do is put one tweet out. You put out a tweet. The president puts out a tweet. All right, guys, we're screwed. Everybody leave the Republican Party and join the Liberty Party. And the Republican Party's over. It is over. And it might take a while for us to build up the power.
Well, but you have a hell of a lot of Democrats that are saying, what in the world has happened to my party?
Exactly. It might be a good time. I want them to win first. And then after that, maybe we drive a stake through the heart of this U.S. Chamber of Commerce. What's the guy's name? O'Donnell? No, it's not O'Donnell. It doesn't matter. But you look at these globalists.
The U.S. Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, you look at these globalist Bushes. The Bushes are horrible, man. Horrible. And what they've done.
When you come to realize that old Pappy Bush, George W. President #1, considered Slick Willie Bill Clinton, Democrat president, that family considered Bill as a son.
Sickening. Absolutely
he considered
disgusting.
Bill Clinton a son within their family. So you're talking about a dynasty that just went through Bush 1, Clinton, Bush 2, Obama. We've been the snow.
And these neocons couldn't win a war if you gave them the W and the A. It took two of them anyway. All right, final comedy one more time.
When, boy? When are you going to get your act together?
Gross.
Oh, good God almighty me. I think he's the Antichrist. Anthony, I want to talk to you. Now listen, don't walk away from me when I'm talking to you. You get a goddamn job before sundown, or we're shipping you off to military school with a goddamn Finkelstein shit kid. Son of a bitch.
Sorry, folks, but I'm living my flashbacks through you. That's some of the funniest stuff I ever heard, man. Especially when you look at these millennials now. Wow.
Who knew that George Carlin was prophetic? When he's going through some of his funniest comedy routines, it's like, wait a minute, we're living that shit right now.
Oh yeah, that's right, man. All you people talking about plastics. In the end, the Earth is more powerful than any of that. We will just live with plastic. And he's right. All right. So that's about it. Jack, did you get on Parler yet, or your final comments?
Not yet. No, I'm kind of, we got the mainstream of social media that I avoided, right? So I'm on Gab, or at least I'm a member of Gab. I haven't been on it for a while, but I try to avoid that. I try to pick and choose and read as much as I can on the news, so I can come here on Fridays and at least present my unsocial media biased opinion for these fine Americans and foreigners that tune in from time to time.
So your final thoughts, man. We're out of here.
Oh, thank you again. Wonderful. We got a few more weeks of summer, then it's going to be fall, and before you know it, folks, it's election time. And like Hut said, the signs are showing up, and I've seen plenty of 2020 Keep America Great signs. I have yet to see a weekend at Biden sign yet.
Oh, good, that's good. And ladies and gentlemen, you can go to your local county Republican committee office, and that's where the signs are. They're free. You don't have to buy them. Put them up. It's time. Please go to facebook.com/ColdWarRadio22. We're still there. The email to the show, scrtv@live.com. That's it, baby. We're out here. I'm Hutch Bailey Jr. My phone's ringing. Thanks for letting us into your life for a couple hours. We'll be back Monday. Good night, everybody.
It's a bad signal. It's a bad signal.
you. Let us pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.